Yep, but I probably will edit it out. Okay?
And this is Act 4 of Macbeth.
Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Reading Shakespeare with Cats. This is actually reading Shakespeare with children. This is actually reading Shakespeare with children, and these are my children.
Whoa!
Go ahead and scoot back, William.
It's dead guy.
We've got Madeline, we've got Abby, and William here today. They're excited. They think way more people are going to view this than actually will. So, go ahead and flip open to Act 4, Scene 1, and we begin with thunder.
Lightning!
What does thunder sound like, kids?
Boom, 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 boom.
All right. Enter 3 witches. Okay, and the first witch says, "Thrice the brinded cat hath mewed, thrice and once the hedge pig whined. Harpier cries, 'tis time, 'tis time.'" I'll pause for a second. Act 4, Scene 1 opens with thunder. Let me hear thunder. And hush. Enter the 3 witches. And go ahead and read along with me, William, right here. And Madam, you read along with Abby right here. Thrice
the brinded cat hath mewed.
Thrice and once the hedge pig whined. Madeline, go ahead.
I can't see it. Abby's hogging it. Harpier cries, 'tis time, 'tis time.
Okay, so what the heck did we just say?
No, I know what it said.
Okay, what the heck did we just say? We started off with the 3 witches. And the first witch says, "Thrice the brinded cat hath mewed." So her familiar is a cat. And what did it do?
They're eating cats.
No, they're not eating cats. The cat says, she says the cat hath mewed. Mewed means meow, meow, meow. She heard 3 meows.
No, but cats and brine. That's eating cats.
The brinded cat means the striped cat.
Oh.
Okay? So the cat has mewed. The second witch says, "Thrice and once the hedge pig whined." So her hedgehog is her familiar. And now the third witch says, "Harpier cries, 'tis time, 'tis time." We don't know who her familiar is, but perhaps it's a frog or something like that. Anyway, their animals have called them into action. And then the first witch says, "Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw. Toad that under cold stone days and nights has 31, sweltered venom sleeping got, boil thou first in the charmed pot." Okay, so the witches are dancing around a cauldron. You guys know what a cauldron is?
Yeah, it's a cauldron. It's a giant pot that they put potions in.
And how they're making their potion. And what have they...
Fingers!
Well, not yet. What have they thrown into this? They threw in what? Poisoned entrails. You guys know what entrails are? That's the guts and intestines, okay, from an animal. The toad they've put in here, okay? They put in venom into it as well. So they're putting some gnarly stuff into their potion, and they're dancing around it, and when they dance around it, they sing together. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burning, cauldron bubble. Nice. All right. The second witch, she's going to continue throwing things in.
Can I read it? Can I read it?
Sure, second witch, go ahead.
Fillet of a fetty snake, and the cauldron boil and bake. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blindworm's sting, lizard's leg and howlet's wing, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth boil and bubble.
Madeline, to your room for saying that word. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. This time, what did they throw in? Did you hear anything that they threw in there?
Dog tongues.
They threw in the tongue of a dog, yes.
That's not real. None of this is real, guys.
Correct. This is all pretend. They also threw in the toe of a frog, the eye of a newt. Yep. Come on, William, back here.
An owl's wing. Maybe?
Yep, a baby owl's wing. Okay, a howlet is a small owl. All right. So they're throwing all this stuff in there. And then they chant again, and then the third witch says, "Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf, witch's mummy, maw and gulf of the ravened salt sea shark, root of hemlock digged in the dark, liver of blaspheming Jew, gall of goat and slips of yew, slivered in the moon's eclipse,
nose of Turk and tartlet's fingers of birth, strangled, baked, delivered by a drab, make the gruel thick and slap.
Add thereto
Add thereto a tiger's
chaudron.
It's a typo.
It looks like a typo, but that apostrophe means that instead of saying the, he says the, or she says the.
There's no typos in this book. Stop correcting. For the ingredients of our cauldron.
Okay, before we get to the chanting, this one I want to go through with you guys a little bit, okay? There's a couple moments here that are strange. They've added more to it this time. Do you notice some more animal parts? Part of a shark, right? But they also this time added the liver of a person, okay? The person he calls a blaspheming Jew. And a Jew is a Jewish person. And for a long time in Europe, which is where England is and Scotland is, in a long time in Europe, there was lots of what's called anti-Semitism against Jewish people, sort of like racism, but against Jewish people. And you guys remember when we talked about Anne Frank and the Holocaust? She was Jewish, and there were people who just had horrible ideas and horrible opinions about people who were Jewish. And in this moment, the witches are no different in that they say that the Jew is a blaspheming person. Blasphemy means going against God or going against the religion. So back in Shakespeare's time when he wrote this, everybody, not everybody, but almost everybody in the country had to be Christian, and it was seen as blasphemy or wrong to be a different religion. Luckily, hang on, William. Luckily, we're not living in that time anymore, and in that place where you're not allowed to have religious freedom. But that was the viewpoint then, and so the witches were saying that, almost making it sound like an extra bad thing, that it was a liver of a person who didn't follow the religion.
Bad Shakespeare.
Thank you. Then there's also the nose of a person from Turkey. Okay. There's also a finger of a baby that died in childbirth. There's a lot of really kind of nasty and horrible things in here. I think the bunny ears have played out, Abby, especially at this moment. Okay.
What is happening in Shakespeare's mind when he was writing this? Like, what happened to him?
Yeah.
This is him probably very normal.
Like, who hurt him?
Yeah, what happened to make him write that?
That's a good question. I think he's using his imagination, so we don't assume that he only writes things that he likes. But I think he's trying to show something about the witches. What do you guys think about the witches if they're putting all those things into the potion?
They would die if they eat it.
You wouldn't want to eat this potion, right? What else does it show about the witches? We're going to read this part again.
If all the animals they got double, toilet and trouble.
Oh, can you wait at me? It's toil, which means work. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Double, toil and trouble. Fire burn and cauldron bubble. All right, the second witch says, cool it with a baboon's blood. Then the charm is firm and good. She pours in some baboon's blood, and now it's perfect, she's saying. Then enter Hecate, who is the goddess of witchcraft.
I know that.
Yeah, you might remember her from Greek mythology. And she shows up to say, oh, well done, I commend your pains, and everyone shall share in the gains. And now about the cauldron sing, like elves and fairies in a ring, enchanting all that you put in. And there's music and a song, and the song is Black Spirits. Can we hear some music and a song? You want to sing Black Spirits? I was kind of thinking like, Black Spirits, like that.
No. What are you made of again?
And then, after all of that, the second witch looks up and she says, by the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes. What is it that's so wicked that the witches are calling it wicked? Because aren't these witches pretty wicked?
Yeah.
What are they seeing? What's coming? Enter Macbeth. How now, you secret black and midnight hags? What is it you do? Now, this is not really a nice way to address someone. Do you know what he just called them?
Hags.
Yeah. And then he asks them a question. What is he asking them?
What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? And what do the witches say to him?
A deed without a name.
Yes. So they won't even tell him what they're doing.
Which means, like, I'm doing something, but I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, you should use that. Abby, what are you doing? A deed without a name. If you say that, I can't get you in trouble. You're quoting Shakespeare. All right. Then Macbeth says, I conjure you by that which you profess, however you come to know it, answer me. Though you untie the winds and let them fight against the churches, though the yeasty waves confound and swallow navigation up, though bladed corn be lodged and trees blown down, though castles topple on their warders' heads, though the palaces and pyramids do slope their heads to their foundations, though the treasure of nature's Germans tumble all together even till destruction sicken, answer me to what I ask you. That was a long sentence, huh?
Yeah.
Did you guys notice the sentence kind of started with the same part over and over again?
Mm-hmm.
What was that part? Though you do this, though you do this, though you do this. In other words, he's making a big list of all the things the witches can do. And they have the power to do what? Untie the winds. What does he do to the waves? Or what do they do to the waves? What do the witches do?
No, they move the waves, and then they make them swallow up ships and towns.
Yeah, you're both right. Yeah, that's what they can do. So they have the power to do that. So would you walk up to someone and pick a fight with someone who can make the winds blow buildings down, who can make waves swallow up ships, who can make all these things happen, who can make a castle topple on its warders' heads on someone on top of the person who lives there?
Nope. Yes. And I don't know who would do that.
I know who would. Macbeth.
And me.
And Madeline, who seems to share something in common with Macbeth. Even though you can do that, answer me to what I ask you. In other words, you're going to tell me. He's put on his bossy pants today. He says, you're going to tell me exactly what I want to know.
He's grumpy.
Yep. And the first witch says, speak.
Wrong side of the bed.
Yeah. And then the second witch says, demand. And the third witch says, we'll answer. Say if thou hadst rather hear it from our mouths or from our masters' mouths. Sorry, our masters. So in other words, she asked, do you want to hear it from us or do you want to hear it from our masters? Who do you think their masters are?
Their moms?
Who are their masters? Their moms? Let's find out. Hey, William, no. Mr. Chipbag in the middle of the scene. You can pour those out and eat them in a bowl if you'd like, okay? Okay, Macbeth says, call him. Let me see him. We're going to find out who these are. And the first witch...
Wait, Dad, you sound like characters from The Hobbit.
I do?
Call him Gollum.
Oh, it sounded like Gollum, didn't it? Macbeth says, call him. Let me see him. And the first witch says, pour in sow's blood that hath eaten her 9 farrow.
Oh, so that means a mama pig that ate all of her 9 babies.
Yes. How did you know that?
Because I know what a sow is.
Okay, very well done. Yes, the blood of that pig, he wants to put it in there. That's gnarly. Grease that's sweating from the murderer's gibbet throw into the flame. So the gibbet is where they hang someone for like an execution back in the day. And if someone was a murderer, what would they do for them for punishment?
Hang them?
They would hang them. And so they're saying to take the grease from the rope, in other words, the sweat from the rope that hung the murderer, take that and drip that into the pot. Again, this potion they're making is really nasty stuff. It's all the cruel and gnarly things of their world and all thrown together into one. And then the 3 witches say, come high or low, thyself and office deftly show. And they're saying show, so whatever you are, come on up. Yes, William? Huh? Cake? Not right now.
After dinner.
We get thunder. I need you guys to thunder. Boom, shaboom. And the first apparition shows up. And the first apparition is an armed head. Now, an apparition, do you guys know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
I don't know.
It's a ghost. Okay, like the ghost, a spirit rises up out of the potion. And this one, it's just a head. And the head is an armed head, which might sound like this, like a head with arms sticking off of it, but it's
armed with weapons.
Armed with armor, like it has like a helmet on it. So it's a head. Yes, there you go.
With this mouth.
There's a head that comes up out of the pot. And Macbeth says, "Tell me, thou unknown power." And the first witch says, "No, he knows thy thought. Hear his speech, but say thou not." So in other words, hear what he has to say, but don't say anything to him. He knows what you're thinking. The first apparition says, "Macbeth, Macbeth, Macbeth, beware Macduff, beware the Thane of Fife. Dismiss me, enough." We're on page 125 at the top.
So there's Macbeth and Macduff.
So what did the first apparition tell him to do? He gave him a piece of advice. Madeline?
Mm-hmm.
What's the advice?
Beware Macduff.
Yeah, so Macduff is a different character. One that suspects Macbeth might be up to bad things. And the apparition says to Macbeth, beware of that Macduff guy. Beware the Thane of Fife. Macduff is the Thane of Fife, so said it twice basically. He descends. Macbeth says, "Whatever thou art, for thy good caution, thanks. Thou hast harped my fear aright. But one word more. He will not be commanded. Here's another, more potent than the first." Before we get to the second ghost to show up here, yeah?
I'm bored.
Macbeth says, "Whatever you are, I don't know what you are, but thank you for the caution. You have harped my fear aright." In other words, I already was afraid of Macduff, and you've proven to me that was the right thing to do.
Oh, I thought Macbeth was scared of them, and he said, "Thank you for the scaredness," and then he walks out the door.
No, and Macbeth didn't leave. The apparition left. It went back down, and then another apparition after some thunder. Boom, 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 boom.
Crash.
And then a bloody child appears.
You're not bloody. You're gonna have to scratch yourself.
And the bloody child says,
Macbeth, Macbeth, Macbeth.
"Had I 3 ears, I'd hear thee." He's joking because she just said his name 3 times, and so he's like, "Hey, if I had 3 ears, I would have heard all 3 of those." I don't know why he's joking right here, but he is. And the second apparition continues.
Be bloody, bold, and resolute. Laugh to scorn the power of man, for none of woman born shall harm Macbeth.
And he descends. The bloody child goes away. So what did that just mean? What did Macbeth just get told?
He can't be harmed. He's a piece of poop and he wants to go away.
No, though he might be one. Okay, real answer here.
He can't be harmed by a woman?
He cannot be harmed by anyone born from a woman.
Oh.
Raise your hand if you're born from a woman.
Can't be harmed. He can be harmed by a cat.
He could be harmed by a cat.
But that's a woman.
But
a
not
seahorse?
Or a seahorse. Okay. True.
A dog's tongue.
But Macbeth just heard, "I should not be afraid of any man, because aren't all men born by women?" So, he says, "Then live, Macduff. What need I fear of thee?" In other words, wait, Macduff can live. I don't have to kill him, because I don't have to be afraid of him, because he must be born from a woman. But, then he changes his mind. "But yet I'll make assurance double sure, and take a bond of fate. Thou shalt not live, that I may tell pale-hearted fear it lies, and sleep in spite of thunder." He decides, nah, I'm going to kill Macduff anyway, because, you know what? I'll sleep better that way. Okay? Then...
He doesn't sleep good, that's why he's talking right now.
That's why he's so cranky, you think?
No, that's why he's talking.
Okay. And then there's thunder.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom, boom, boom.
The third apparition is a child crowned with a tree in his hand.
Crowned with a tree on his hand.
There we go. Macbeth says to the third apparition, "What is this that rises like the issue of a king and wears upon his baby brow the round and top of sovereignty?"
Be lion mettled proud and take no care who chafes, who frets, or where conspirers are. Macbeth shall never vanquished be until Great Burnham wood to hide Dunsane Hill shall come against him. He descends,
William,
which means I go away.
where are your pants?
Macbeth. Who can impress the forest, bid the tree unfix his earthbound root?
Okay, very well read, Abby. Let's pause that. Hold on, we gotta pause.
God meant good.
Okay, let's pause. And let's figure out what the heck was just said to him. This one's confusing. The third apparition tells him to be lion mettled. Okay, mettled means like you're made of something. Like if you are made of the same stuff as lions, what is he telling you to be?
Strong.
Yes,
bold,
be strong and bold,
tough,
proud,
brave.
and take no care of who chafes or frets or where conspirers are.
So
Don't
just
worry
kill
about
everybody.
anyone trying to kill
Be
you.
a bunny. Because bunnies are smart and cats are dumb.
Okay. Why? Macbeth shall never vanquished be until great Burnham Wood to high Dunsinane Hill shall come against him.
So if the guy that you just said come against him, then he shall never be vanquished or gone.
Right. Macbeth will never be vanquished. He'll never be destroyed until great Burnham Wood comes against him. Now, great Burnham Wood is a forest.
Oh,
It's
so
a
the
forest.
comes against him.
So, yeah, it's a forest right down below the high
'cause that was
Dunsinane
the
Hill.
tree baby.
So, yeah, the tree baby said this. So, in other words, you don't have to worry about anything until the forest comes running up the hill against you. So, Macbeth, if you're Macbeth, how are you feeling then? You feel like you're going to get destroyed sometime soon?
No, by forest. No.
No, it's not going to happen, right? So, Macbeth says that. Hi, Smalls. Smalls, Macbeth says, that will never be. Meaning what?
That will never be true.
Yeah.
That will never happen.
Who can impress the forest? Bid the tree unfix his earthbound root. In other words, who can do what? In other words, who could get the forest to unfix his roots and come walking?
No one.
No one, right? So he says, rebellious dead rise never till the wood of Burnham rise, and our high-placed Macbeth shall live the lease of nature, pay his breath to time and mortal custom. In other words, Macbeth is pretty confident that he's going to live the lease of nature. He's going to live his full life, the full lease. If a lease is like a rental, right?
Yeah, I know that.
Yet my heart throbs to know one thing. Tell me if your art can tell so much. Shall Banquo's issue ever reign in this kingdom? What did he just ask? He has to know one more thing. He's dying to know it.
If his mom will ever say hi to him.
Nope.
If Banquo will do something.
If Banquo issues out, in other words, like his offspring,
Yeah.
shall ever reign in this kingdom. What does that mean? If what?
Babies falling from the sky.
If Banquo's children shall ever be kings, will they ever reign as kings? He has to know, doesn't he? And the witches say, seek to know no more. Macbeth says, I will be satisfied. Deny me this and an eternal curse fall on you. Let me know. In other words, he just threatened to curse the witches if they don't tell him. Does that sound smart?
No.
You can't do that.
Why would somebody do that?
And then the cauldron sinks and we get hot boys. I know that sounds like there's a bunch of hot boys that just showed up, but it's not. It's just guys who play the oboe. So they like go like, doo-doo. Sorry. They could be hot if you want to imagine them that way.
No.
And he says, why sinks that cauldron? And what noise is this?
Show.
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 Show his eyes and grieve his heart. Come like shadows, so depart. A show of 8 kings show up. 8 kings show up, Madeline.
8 kings, whoa.
The 8th king has a glass in his hand. Now, in Shakespeare time, a glass meant not just a cup, but a mirror.
Hourglass.
A mirror.
Mirror.
That's a good guess. A mirror, though. And Banquo's the last one of them. All right? And he looks up and he sees this king. And he walks up to him and he says, thou art too like the spirit of Banquo. Down! Thy crown does sear mine eyeballs. In other words, your crown hurts my eyes because it looks like it's on top of someone who looks just like Banquo. He doesn't like that. And thy hair, thou other gold-bound brow, is like the first. So he points to the second king and he says, your hair looks just like the first one's hair. So what does that mean?
It looks like Banquo.
Also looks like Banquo. A third is like the former. What does that mean?
The last one.
The third one
is like the second one.
looks like the second one.
Which means it's the same.
They look like Banquo again. Filthy hags, why do you show me this? Well, why do they show him this? I believe he just threatened them to put an eternal curse on them.
A fourth, start eyes. What will the line stretch out to the crack of doom? Another yet. A seventh, I'll see no more.
Okay, he recognizes there's a 4th one, there's a 5th, a 6th, a 7th. I'll see no more. He's like, no more of this. But then what does he see?
A horrible sight.
And yet the eighth appears, who bears a glass which shows me many more. So in other words, the eighth one is there and shows him a mirror. And he looks into the mirror, and what does he see?
Himself as
No. He doesn't see himself. He sees many more. He sees many more little mini Banquos, all with their crowns. And some I see that twofold balls and treble scepters carry. Okay, so the twofold balls and treble scepters, that's referring to something that King James, the current king of England in Shakespeare's time, would have had, because he considered himself the king of England and Scotland, and also the king of Great Britain, France, and Ireland. And so he had two balls and treble scepters, and that's what that's referring to. It's sneaky. Shakespeare's sneaking in a little reference to his own king in this play. He's saying, hey, you are related to Banquo, the noble, righteous Banquo. Horrible sight. Now I see it is true, for the blood-boltered Banquo smiles upon me and points at them for his. In other words, Banquo looks at them, all these 8 kings, and smiles and points at them and says, haha, they're mine. Says that to Macbeth. The apparitions disappear. What? Is this so? Aye, sir, all this is so. But why stands Macbeth thus amazedly?
Why does Macbeth stand amazed?
Why is he so amazed? Why is he so surprised? Come, sisters, cheer we up his sprites, and show the best of our delights. I'll charm... Yeah. Okay. I'll charm the air to give a sound, while you perform your antic round, that this great king may kindly say, our duties did his welcome pay. Then there's music. Can you play the music? And the witches dance. And they vanish. Where are they? Gone? Let this pernicious hour stand I accursed in the calendar. Come in without there. Enter Lennox. What's your grace's will? Saw you the weird sisters? No, my lord. Came they not by you? No, indeed, my lord. And Macbeth says, infected be the air whereon they ride, and damned all those that trust them. I did hear the galloping of horse. Who was it came by? 'Tis 2 or 3, my lord, that bring you word Macduff is fled to England. So Lennox says some news just came. The news was that what happened?
Macduff, the bad guy, came and left.
Is Macduff in this story really the bad guy?
No.
But Macbeth doesn't like Macduff, right?
Right.
So Macduff has fled to England. Fled to England? Aye, my good lord. And now Macbeth is going to say this aside, which means he's going to say this to himself. Time, thou anticipatest my dread exploits. The flighty purpose never is overtook unless the deed go with it. From this moment, the very firstlings of my heart shall be the firstlings of my hand. So he says time, he's talking to time, and he says, you anticipated my dread exploits. Your exploits are your actions. Mm-hmm. So he had some dreadful actions he was going to perform. He was going to kill Macduff. But time anticipated it, and Macduff got away before he could do it.
Wait.
Yeah?
Is England a country?
Yes.
And then where's Macbeth right now?
Scotland, which is just north of England. Then he says, from this moment, the very firstlings of my heart shall be the firstlings of my hand.
Ew.
That means that the first things my heart want are going to be the first things my hand does. I'm not going to pause and delay anymore. And even now, to crown my thoughts with acts, be it thought and done. The castle of Macduff I will surprise, seize upon Fife, give to the edge of the sword his wife, his babes, and all unfortunate souls that trace him in his line.
Poor unfortunate souls.
Thank you. You're the first student I've ever had who recognized that allusion.
Bum bum. Probably because your high school students don't watch Disney princess movies.
They actually do more than you think. So what did he just say he was going to do? This is kind of important. He said, the castle of Macduff I will surprise. He knows Macduff is left for England, so what's he going to do?
He's going to surprise the castle and make the castle go down.
Yeah, give to the edge of the sword who? His wife, his babes, and all unfortunate souls that trace him in his line. Everyone there at the castle he's going to have killed.
Jeez.
Yeah. What's wrong with this guy, right?
Everything?
Yes.
Is this when he says his 3 murderers?
He will send murderers in a moment.
Murderers!
And he says...
Yay!
Why do you guys like that part? Then he says, no boasting like a fool. This.
Remember my bad guy trap?
Then he says, no boasting like a fool. This deed I'll do before this purpose cool. So he's not going to boast about it. He's not going to brag about talking about it anymore. What's he going to do instead?
He's going to go and it's going to be cool.
No, he's going to do it before
Cool.
his hot temper cools off. Okay?
His anger.
But no more sights. He's not going to see any more apparitions or ghosts or things like that. Where are these gentlemen? Come, bring me where they are. And that is Act 4, Scene 1.
Good God!
Go ahead and stop it.